Natasha Bertrand, thanks. I want to get some perspective from Democratic Congressman Jim Himes, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. He's also seen the classified Inspector General report. So, Congressman, the White House says the president is standing by Hegseth. Secretary himself saying case closed. You read the classified report. How do you see it?
Well, I hope it's not case closed, Anderson, because, and you can get into a lot of different elements of this report about using the device that he shouldn't have used and the fact that the information was secret until he personally declassified it. The really important thing here, though, is what America's going to see tomorrow in the redacted version of this, which is that the Secretary of Defense put his people and the mission at risk for the purpose of sounding like a tough guy with a bunch of his friends on a Signal chat. Number one. And number two, people need to think about this. He also chose not to cooperate with the Inspector General's investigation. He wouldn't sit for an interview, and he would not give them their phone. In the military, I think, as you know, Anderson, there is this idea that you would never do the equivalent of pleading the fifth, that you will always cooperate. And so I guess my point is this: I hope it's not a dead letter, because the man who has control of our nuclear weapons, who sends young men and women to their deaths, is a guy who put his own people at risk and who didn't cooperate in an investigation. He does not have either the character or the disposition to have the position that he holds.
Is that common? I mean, I don't know if there's other examples of secretaries of defenses who've been investigated by inspector generals or other officials, but is it common for somebody not to cooperate at his level and not hand over, I guess, his phone in this case?
Yeah, I don't have an inventory of these investigations either. But again, this isn't a complicated legal topic, right? Why would he not cooperate? If the point here is to find out whether he put people at risk or broke the law, does he not have enough respect for his own people to be able to look them in the eye and say, look, this was a mistake? And I'm going to do everything in my power to cooperate and to learn from it. Instead, he lied about it, right? And in the little clip you ran before, Mike Waltz, my friend Mike Waltz, his response was to call Jeffrey Goldberg, the reporter who was inadvertently put on the Signal chat, a loser, right? I mean, anybody in the military who is steeped in the traditions of leadership and character would look at that kind of behavior and say, I don't want this person reporting to me, much less being, reporting to this person.
Do you think, the pushback on this is that Hegseth has the power to unilaterally declassify information, though again, classified or not, any information about a pending strike presumably would be closely held. How much does the classification status, I guess, matter?
Well, as a legal matter, and you'll see this in the report, as a legal matter, the Secretary of Defense is a original classifying authority. That means that he can make the decision about what is classified and what is not. Now, you'll also see in the report that there's a whole set of procedures that when you declassify something, you change the markers on the piece of paper that says secret, you change it to declassified, right? None of that happened. So what he has is a very convenient excuse to be able to say, because I'm an original classifying authority, when I say it's declassified, it's declassified. But Anderson, we're talking about before an attack, describing the airplanes, describing the munitions, and describing the timing. You don't need to be a military expert to know how much damaging that could have been.
Hey, listen, I know you're expecting to meet with Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley tomorrow, who Hegseth has said gave the order for the secondary strike. I want to play some of what the president had to say about the strikes today and ask you about it.
You released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem.
If it is found that survivors were actually killed while clinging onto that boat, should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people by the millions, actually, if you look over a few years. I support the decision to knock out the boats, and whoever's piloting those boats, most of them are gone, but whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country.
How do you see this, and what do you plan on asking the Admiral tomorrow?
Well, it was sort of interesting that the president said that it's a war, right? Because the president's people came to us and said, hey, Congress, it's not a war. If it were a war, we'd need to seek permission. The president just said it's a war. Even if it's a war, there are laws of war, right? And one of those laws of war, which is inviolable and which every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine in the United States military knows, is that you cannot kill somebody who is in distress, somebody who has ceased to be a combatant. So just because you were taking a lethal strike, which was the Secretary's first offense, it was meant to be lethal, how you do that really matters. And, you know, I expect to see the video tomorrow. And if in fact this was a go-around to kill people who are in distress, that is a war crime. And, you know, do I expect the administration to acknowledge that? Of course not. They won't acknowledge that. But there's a reason we care about this, apart from ethics, Anderson, and that is that there are times when our people are captured or our people are wounded. And the American people need to ask themselves, when a Marine is wounded on a beach somewhere and there's a Syrian who has that, or a Russian or whoever it might be, a Chinese person who has that Marine in their sights, and the Marine is wounded and needs assistance, do you want the Chinese or the Iranians or the North Koreans to make the defense that the Pentagon is making? Yeah, we could kill him, murder him, essentially. I don't think people want that for our military.
Congressman Jim Hyams, appreciate it. Thank you. Up next, a number of images of Jeffrey Epstein's infamous home on his private island, photographs and some videos now public. Congressman Ro Khanna is here. He and a GOP colleague, Massey, led the fight to get the Epstein files released. And later, what the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, convicted in a U.S. federal court of drug trafficking, is saying tonight after his pardon by President Trump, while a former U.S. attorney has this to say about the case at the time.
Hernandez declared that he wanted, and I quote, to stuff the drugs right up the noses of the gringos.